If you like apple pie at all, you are going to love this recipe. Look at all of the apples that we stuff into this here. Welcome back to the Anabolic Hub, where we make anabolic deliciousness. We're back inside my kitchen today, and we're doing another original recipe, Anabolic Fruit Pies, the handheld version, or Anabolic Fruit Pie Turnovers. Whatever you want to call them, we know they're absolutely delicious. You've probably seen the version that Hostess has. That one is definitely delicious. Unfortunately, the macros are awful. It's loaded with sugar, the fat is way too high, and it's gonna have you feeling guilty for the rest of the day. My version, the anabolic version, is loaded with protein, much lower in calories. It is going to be ideal for any shredding plan, any maingaining plan, and definitely any weight loss plan. So, with no further ado, let's get things started by having a look at the ingredients. Here we go. Self-rising flour, vanilla-based casein protein powder, Swerve, granular, ground cinnamon, an apple, plain non-fat Greek yogurt, unsweetened almond milk, vanilla extract. I can't believe it's not butter, the light one. Sugar-free syrup, 1 egg, Swerve, confectioners. I know, but when I ask, you seem to do it more often. So if you wouldn't mind, please smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. I appreciate every single one of you that has already done so. If you're new here and looking for more anabolic deliciousness, if you love anabolic recipes, if you love anything that has to do with the fitness world, highly recommend hit that subscription button, turn on bell notifications. I promise you won't be disappointed. Trying to get to 10K by the end of the year. I think I can do it. Just need your help. And I have a question. Are there any other Hostess Copycat recipes that you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments section. All right, back to the video. This is another one of those magical recipes where we're mixing together some dry ingredients, we're mixing together some wet ingredients, and we're combining the two for some anabolic deliciousness. So let's get things started here by mixing together our dry ingredients first. First dry ingredient is going to be 50 grams of our self-rising flour. If you don't have self-rising flour or you can't find it, it's very simple to make. I just made it myself. You put in 120 grams of all-purpose flour, then 5 grams of baking powder, and about 1.5 grams, or 1 or 2, doesn't really matter, of your salt. Mix it all up or sift it all together. You got yourself some self-rising flour. Here we're gonna be using 50 grams. Then we need 33 grams of our vanilla-based casein protein powder. Please, casein protein powder, not whey. No blends. The blend will kind of work, but you still don't want to use it, and definitely don't use whey. Get yourself some casein vanilla-based protein powder for this recipe. We're going to be putting in 33 grams right here. Then we need 12 grams of our Swerve granular or any 0-calorie sweetener. And then 1 gram of cinnamon. And then when you get those ingredients in there, the next step is to mix or sift them all together. And as always, don't sleep on the sifting. You want maximum incorporation of all of your dry ingredients. They are now done. Let's move on to the wet ingredients. First wet ingredient is going to be 84 grams of our plain non-fat Greek yogurt. Negative scale measuring system. And with that little bit left there on the spoon, we have 84 grams of the plain non-fat Greek yogurt, exactly. Then we need 1 gram of the vanilla extract. And our last wet ingredient for this portion is going to be the almond milk. It will greatly depend on which brand of casein protein powder that you are using. They all absorb a little bit different. I'm gonna get things started here with 50 grams, but we may need more, we may need less. You wanna check it as you go. I will show you the appropriate consistency of the dough so you know exactly what we're looking for, but you should be safe to start with 50 because you can always add more in later, but you can't take any out. 50 grams going in right here. And once you have those wet ingredients in there, you just wanna give them a quick mix. And now that we have maximum disbursement of our vanilla extract, we're ready to add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients, which we're going to do in one batch today. And once you've mixed until you think you've mixed enough, and then you've mixed some more, and you still have this beach sandy type textured dough, you know that you need to add more almond milk. I recommend adding in 5 grams at a time because we don't want this batter to get too wet or it's going to be very hard to make our turnover. So add 5 grams at a time until you get the consistency that, as I said, I'm about to show you. And once you see your dough starting to come together like so, you know that you've added in enough almond milk. If it starts to form into one big ball of dough here, you're good to go. Now we're gonna make this into an even tighter ball of dough and get it ready to put on our parchment paper. And once you've formed your dough into one big dough ball here, just kind of knead it together a little bit. If some's starting to stick to your hands like so, you just want to add a little bit of flour to it. You don't need to add a ton. What I recommend you do is add a little bit of your flour into the mixing bowl that you had and just mix it around in there with the dough ball and then kind of knead it together some more. I'll show you. Let's do it. And once you have a very light coating of flour around your dough ball, you know that you're good to go. We're gonna put this off to the side. Before we put it on some parchment paper, we're going to put together our filling. And I know, surprise, surprise, the first ingredient for our filling is going to be an apple. You need 60 grams of an apple cut up into small cubes. You can peel the apple if you want. I recommend that you don't. Lots of nutrients are in that apple skin. It's also going to take away some of the fiber content. So if you can stand the apple peels, which I promise you, you're not going to taste in the recipe anyway, I highly recommend you just cut it up into small cubes with the skin on. Let's get that going right now. Next ingredient we're going to use is going to be 14 grams of the, I can't believe it's not butter, a light one, or any light butter. And as you saw there, I put it into a microwave safe container. I'm gonna put this in there for 10 seconds to soften it up, just so everything mixes together a little nicer. Skipping ahead to where the butter is softened. And our next sort of wet ingredient is going to be 10 grams of our swerve brown sugar. Always just a gram away, but it's in there, 10 grams on the money. Then we need 10 grams of our sugar-free syrup. And another 2 grams of our ground cinnamon. And after all those ingredients in there, you just want to give them a mix. Toss the apples around and all of that goodness. And once your apples are fully coated and you have your filling done, it is time to go back to our dough that we're going to put on parchment paper and start forming out this apple fruit pie handheld turnover. And we're back to our ball of dough here. We have our cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. We're going to start forming out our turnover. I recommend that you put a little bit of flour onto your parchment paper just to make sure that your dough is not too wet. If it does end up being too wet, it sticks to the parchment paper and it's very hard to turn over. So just to be sure, I recommend sprinkling down a little bit of the flour onto your parchment paper. And then you take your ball of dough, put it in the center, and start forming out your turnover. And once you've spread out the dough enough where you know you'll be able to flip it over when you put the filling in, you're good to go. Next step is, of course, to add said filling. Now that we have our filling in the center of our dough, the next step is to fold it over and then we're going to close it up. Easiest way to do that is to pick up your parchment paper and get the rolling process started. Want to go around and seal up the edge. And then give it the official seal with some crimping. Seal all the way around. Then you want to go to the top of your fruit pie and make 3 separate holes so there's some space for the steam to come out, because you do not want this thing exploding inside your oven. And one final step we want to do for our apple fruit hand pie turnover is give it a nice little egg wash. So hopefully you have something like this that you can spread the egg wash onto your turnover with. If not, you can try and use a paper towel or get creative. I don't know how you would do it. I've always used this. And now that our egg wash is on there, our next step is to, of course, bake this up, which we're going to do in a conventional oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius for 20 to 25 minutes. If you wanted to put this in an air fryer, you could definitely do that at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius for 16 to 20 minutes. We're going to use the conventional oven today, so let's get this thing in there so we can start cooking. And after exactly 20 minutes, our apple fruit pie is done. We need to let it cool. While we're doing that, we're going to put together a glaze to go right over the top. First ingredient for our glaze is going to be 15 grams of our Swerve confectioners. Then you want just enough almond milk to get a glaze consistency. For me, using the Swerve confectioners, it's going to be 10 grams of the almond milk. And then to help take away some of that cooling sensation and add a little bit more flavor, we're gonna use a few drops, I'd say about 3 or 4 of our vanilla extract. Then you wanna give it a mix. And when you're done, you should have this type of consistency here, a nice glaze to go right on top of the turnover. We're gonna wait to finish letting it cool. It takes about 10 minutes in total. We're gonna add on the glaze and then head over to the taste test table. And we're back at the taste test table yet again to try another fantastic recipe. This one, it's apple season, love the fall. This recipe here is gonna help you get rid of all those extra apples you may have had when you went apple picking. Like I did, got about 2 bags filled with overpriced apples, but you know, you pay for the experience. I digress. Let's get back to this recipe here. Our apple fruit pie / turnover, whatever you wanna call it. It is delicious. I'm so excited for this taste test. I'm even more excited for you to try it and hear what your thoughts are. But with no further ado, let's get right to having it. Gonna go with the piece to my right, picking it up. First bite, best bite every time with this one. Don't care what you say, here we go. Tastes just like a Hostess apple fruit pie. So good. Oh. The sweetness from the filling, the glaze on top, all comes together. Such a great combination. Anytime you bake apples, it's very hard to screw it up. Kind of like the Anabolic apple pie breakfast bake. That comes out on the money every single time. This is no different. Very easy to do, very simple to put together. It's a couple steps, but it's not that bad. You can probably have it done and in the oven in about 15 minutes. So good, so delicious, loaded with protein. You can't go wrong. It's another one of those treats where it feels like it should be cheating on your diet, but it's not. The apples, the cinnamon, the brown sugar, probably no better combination than that. You add in the extra sweetness from the glaze and you have yourselves the perfect treat that's gonna keep you on track with your fitness plan. I'll flash up the macros here so we can see exactly what's in it. As you can see, right on point, lower fat, high protein, exactly what we want in an anabolic recipe. This one here is a keeper. My version here is more than twice the size of the Hostess fruit pie, and it is less calories by a lot, and is 10 times more protein, 3 times less the fat. Unbelievable what you get for the flavor in this recipe. It doesn't seem like it should be right. One thing I would advise when you're doing the filling for this recipe, sugar-free syrups all tend to be a different consistency. You don't want yours to be too watery. Make sure you follow it exactly how I showed you the consistency should be. If you have too much water in it, it's gonna end up spilling out over the sides and you're gonna be very disappointed. It's just gonna be messy. It's still gonna taste delicious, but it's gonna be very messy. So watch that. You want it to be the appropriate amount of thickness when you're putting your filling together. That's the only variable in this recipe. Everything else, if you follow it exactly the way I did, you're gonna get this deliciousness every single time. Look at all of the apples that we stuff into this here. There is no way you're gonna be able to eat this and be hungry after. You have 2 halves of that. Come on, you're gonna eat 2 of these and tell me you're gonna be hungry after? Absolutely no way. And that sets up perfectly my line here, making my way through the first half, and I'm already starting to feel full. But I am. This one is a winner. I want you to try it, make it, let me know what you think. I'm always curious of your thoughts on all my recipes, so make this one no different, put it together, try it, come back and tell me the real world results because you know, I love to hear about it. But it's getting to be about that time. I gotta get up out of here and finish the second half off camera. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.